I want to share with you three different occasions, uh, all of them related to elections, all of them related to by-elections, of which I found myself in a fix, and none other than Raila Odinga himself saved me from the fix, from the hot soup. I will explain them in detail of the three occasions. I have met Raila three occasions, and actually, I've never met him near one on one except on those three occasions. And I'm not including public meetings where there's a lot of. I'm talking of a situation where I'm I'm facing one on one, and the people are surrounding, listening to what we are talking, and we have only met three times, and all the three times it was during by-elections, and all the three times he he sided with me to an extent that either he single-handedly played a big role or he played a very big role in it. You see, when there is tension anywhere, especially political, you find that if Raila endorses you, a lot of weight is removed. I think I'll explain now. That is the brief of today's remembrance of Raila. I have met Raila three times. Before three times, I do not want to talk of a public meeting where there are thousands and thousands of people. Because when I was in the intelligence, uh, we used to meet, and that is the time I want to say that an intelligence officer in a public meeting is the same as a journalist. So I cannot say, but I'm talking of occasions where we could talk one on one, and I've only talked of the three. I want to talk about less than a dozen people around, and the two of us, me and him, we are maybe exchanging ideas. Those three, and in the three occasions, he saved me from embarrassment and dangerous moments. The three occasions were, I want to mention the three occasions. There was a Lugari by-election. If I'm not wrong, it was in March 1994. Then there was also another one, a Changamwe by-election. And then 1997, around April, Langata by-election. Those three by-elections, we met one on one, and his stamp of approval played a big role. In 1997, I was at Joseph Kang'ethe Stadium in Kibra, and he's the one who removed tension on those three occasions. Now, I want to start one by one because I've told you of the three occasions. I want to discuss of them one by one. In the first incident, it was during the Lugari by-election, early 1994. That was, I think, in March 1994. During the March 1994 by-election in Lugari, Apidi Wawire had defected from Fodasili to Kanu, necessitating a by-election. The returning officer for that by-election was Maurice Kashero, and he decided that I was one of the three most qualified guys to be made presiding officers in three created polling stations. There were three polling stations were created by Justice Chesoni. I can only remember two. There is one near Luhoho. He had created a new polling station there. He had created another one at Lumani in not very far from Malava. That polling station he had created, and a third one. Lumani is at Matete. I had created those 3 polling stations. It was in 1992 register, but he had created 3 polling stations. I will briefly and quickly tell you why, and how he created it. Having been somebody from around, having been born at a place called Chimoi, he knew the geography of the place, and he knew that the people were walking far. So he created a new polling station, the 3 of them, in the 3 places. And you'd find that, let me give an example of Lumani, where I was the presiding officer. The Lumani was carved out of, I'll remember the polling station. Then it was carved out of another polling station. And the register, which was at Lumani, was also at the other place. So he believed that some voters will choose either of the two. So if you come from that area and you find that your house is near one of the mother polling station, you could go there, or you could go to the new one like Lumani. Whether they discussed that with the returning officer or not, but what the returning officer did not tell us, what the returning officers did not tell, especially the 3 of us, anything about the creation of the new polling station. I said we were 3 presiding officers whom he felt that we could handle the situation well. The other 2 were media shy. When the press went to where they were, they politely avoided talking to the media. I used that opportunity to talk to the press. So I didn't fear the press. I just talked to them, and then they felt that they should ask the question about the 3 new polling stations. The intention, there was always that what we call assumption that the new created polling station were Kanu rigging strategy. Uh, just like all elections, you are not told your polling station. You are not told the polling station. The reason being is, if you are told, maybe you'll make arrangements. So in the last minute, is when you are now posted to your polling station. It is possible to be told you are a presiding officer. You may even be told a very long time ago, but you'll not be told which polling station. So that should you have plans to rig election or anything, you'll find it a bit hard, because you may plan with people in the eastern polling station and you're posted to the western polling station. So that is why they don't tell. And you're only told at the last minute, when you're within 24 hours before the election. I was posted to Lumani, but nobody told me why Lumani polling station was carved out of Nambilima. Nobody told me why it was carved out of Nambilima. So we had a presiding officer in Nambilima, and we had me as the presiding officer in Lumani. Nobody told us anything. We were just posted the last minute. I would have preferred that after we were told our polling station, the 3 of us, I would have preferred that we were to be called and be told of the uniqueness of the 3. Nobody told us anything. So I found myself in deep end. Everybody wanting to know why the polling station was there and why we had come to rig election in that polling station. Another problem that I faced was that the returning officer had hired a shop and told me that when coming back after elections, I was to get the receipt. You see, they had hired a private shop, so whatever money they had given, I was to be given that receipt to go back with it to the constituency tallying center, so that they can account for the hiring of the shop. Next to the shop that we were using as a polling station, next to it was a hotel. Next to it was a hotel, owned by a close friend, relative, and political supporter of the KANU person. Now you see, when we went to the polling station, we went there at midnight to open the polling station, and also to arrange the places, place there the clerks, kufagia, and so on and so forth. That was the intention of us going there. And you see, when you go there at midnight, before midnight, you find that the shops are closed. So we knew it was in the shopping center, but we didn't know which shop was next. So that in the morning, the hotel owner opened the place. The hotel owner opened the place and started selling tea and mandazi. And you see, if your hotel is next to the polling station, you have a lot of customers. It later came out to be found that the hotel owner is related to the KANU candidate. That is one. Two, in the hotel itself, the doors had campaign posters for the KANU person. That is one, and also for Moi. Now, when you find that it has that, I was called. I was called by KTN. Yeah, I was called by KTN. Those years, KTN was only in urban areas, so KTN came and showed me how is it that five five steps, 5 paces from the polling station is a hotel run by whatever. It is a hotel that has vote for Apid Wawire, and there is also one for vote for Moi. I looked at that place. That was the first time I was even knowing, and that was whatever. And you see, the KTN camera was rolling. Then I told the security officers to not only bring down the campaign posters for the KANU candidate, but tear them. They also told me that there's the president's poster there, and he was saying, vote for Moi. And you see, he was that poster was, you see this podium that is written the President of the Republic of Kenya. Something just came to me very quickly. Something just came to me very quickly that if I were to say that it should be torn or anything, the next day it will be newspapers that the person who was sacked for saying Kibaki Tosha has been tearing that. So what I did is that I told the press that this is a presidential portrait, so I'll not do that. Then they asked me, what do you do? I said, close down the hotel. When I said close down the hotel, they closed the hotel, and then they came back to me again and said, you see, this man knew that there was going to be people. He bought a lot of flour, he bought a lot of sugar. Now, if he doesn't sell, then I said, anybody wanting to buy tea or anything, you should go at the back door. They said, okay, there was an NGO there who said, okay, you come back and whatever, take a cup of tea at our expense. I went and took a cup of tea. Don't ever offer a cup of tea to a police officer, ever serving or former, na akatae. So I took that tea. After that, I was now called. There was a lady from Kibwezi who was the MP and an assistant minister, but she had defected to DP. She was there and she was asking me before the journalist, Bwana presiding officer, how do you feel that such a thing can happen? And I remembered that in Lumani, at that time, there was no school. At Lumani, there was no assistant chief's office. So I told them, I came here, I didn't find any. And then as I was talking to them, I looked across, saw a shop that was aside. Yeah? It was not within the shopping center, but it was built aside. I just told them that I came here at night, found that that shop there was hired for as a polling station. It was hired as a polling station, and when I came at night, the fellow had closed and had gone. So I had to use my money to hire this shop because this fellow was around. And here is the receipt, and I used my money. I don't even know whether my money will be refunded or anything. And that lady, the Amkamba lady from Kibwezi, she was there and whatever. Then RAILA came. And you see, that is I tell you, there are some things we go through. I tell you. In my heart, I knew that I was in problems. Now the biggest problem has come. So Raila came. I welcomed him. I told him, my nature is before I talk to anybody or before I do anything, can you please go and talk to the agents? Go and talk to the agents. Once you talk to the agents, they talk to you, come to me. And you see, when Raila is around, you are forgotten. Makamera zote sasa zinamfuata. He went and talked to Daraja Nabwera. Daraja Nabwera is the brother to Burudi Nabwera. And Daraja Nabwera is the father to the current MP for Lugari, Nabii Nabwera. Actually, the full name is Nabwera Daraja Nabwera. But then he uses it Nabii Daraja Nabwera. So Nabwera Senior, Daraja Nabwera Senior was the agent for his brother Burudi Nabwera. So when he was there, I said, can you talk to your agent? Raila went to Daraja Nabwera and talked to him directly. Daraja Nabwera was so much in praise of me. Huyu kijana ni mzuri. Kijana is doing so well. Raila now came. That is the trick I used to use when I was working for the Electoral Commission. Allow the person to talk to the agents first. You see, when the journalists come, you tell them go and talk to observers. When they've talked to observers, when the observers come back, when the press talk to observers, they come to you. They have a lot. The observers have really praised you. One thing also, it's a long story. I want to cut it short. Another thing I would want to tell you is that everything I do when I'm a presiding officer, I used to consult and whatever. So you find that when I would tell a political party, go and talk to your agents, or I could tell a journalist, go and talk to the observers, I knew that my relationship was good with the people. So Raila came back and he talked to me, and the journalists were there. And the pictures was snapping. And then he asked me, why is it that ABCD? But of course, Daraja Nabwera, the father to the current MP, had told him the lie that nobody knew, but I had cooked up that lie. That you see that shop there, it was whatever. So Daraja Nabwera had told Raila that this young man had found a lot of things and whatever, and he did whatever. But then Raila asked me one question that was, I think there are three questions. First question was, why were the polling stations created? I then turned to somebody there and called somebody on the line. Ebu kuja, the person came. Asked him, where do you come from? He said, I come from, he said the place it is. How long is it here walking from me? I said. Then I said, how long do you take to Mnambirima? He said, and then I turned to Raila and said, when I was coming, I looked at the, what do you call, the meter, the kilometer, at the vehicle from Nambirima to here. And I found it is so many kilometers. So we have cut a lot of things there. But what, you see, the problem in Kenya's courts and the problem in Kenya's politics, and that is why I'm very proud of NIS. NIS, you are given an opportunity to look at things from holistically, from all angles. Now, from Nambirima, you've reached the main road, you get a T, what do you call, a T junction, and then you turn right towards Lumani. So you see, if you are to use a shortcut from from Nambirima to Lumani, it is even possible for you to reach Lumani before a vehicle arrives. But the vehicle has to meander through whatever. But Kenya's politics and Kenya courts are adversarial in nature. They are very much adversarial in nature. So I could not explain a lot of things and whatever. So I just said, I told the Mheshimiwa, from here, just go to Lumani, look at your speedometer, count the number of kilometers. Then there's a question he asked me. He asked me, because I explained everything, and already he had talked to the father, to the current MP, Mzee Daraja Nabwera. So we were not hostile to each other. So he turned to me and asked me why is it that many of the people lining up have new voters card. They are not using the voters card that was there. I went and brought the black book. There was a book that was called black book. The black book is the when you go to register as a voter, your name was entered in a black book, and then it would be processed later for your ID. So I told him, so long as the name is in the black book, and so long as the name is on the register, I have no question because it shows that the person is registered. I don't know why the people here. He told me that of the three polling stations, the three created polling stations, uh, were Nabuyole. Yeah, the other one, not the other one is somewhere near. I'm forgetting the name. It is near Nabuyole, but on the Luandeti side. So the other polling station, he said he has gone to the three polling stations, and he finds that there was a lot of turnout in the new polling station, in the newly created polling station, and a lot of people who were approaching there had a new voters card. But I told them, so long as the person is in the records, I have no, I cannot stop them. Mine is only to check the black book. If the person is in the black book, then you, I won't stop them. And then he addressed the press. He addressed the press and said that he's concerned about the whatever, but of the all polling stations that he had gone to Lugari, he has seen that Lumani had the most what do you call open, the person who was open to tell the truth, who was sincere. And if you go to the library and ask for the newspaper, it was in March or April 1994. If you check with the standard of that day, the following day in page 4, you'll find that Raila is praising me. He's saying that, those newspapers are still there in the library. He's praising me that I am an open presiding officer. So that is what had happened. And I can say that being that open is what contributed, and also not only being open, I would also say that Raila, uh, he's the one who saved me from that. During my time with the Electoral Commission, I want to reiterate is that everything I did was I consulted with those who are around, especially the press, the agents, and the observers. Like I would sit down and ask them before we even started, because we would reach at the polling station around 4, reach around 4, and polling would start at 6. So in those 2 hours, I would give various scenarios to those people. Say, suppose many presiding officers relied on training manual, but me, I relied on what we agreed mostly among us. I would bring the whole problem with everything and say, suppose we get this and this, then we say we could pass that. And when it came to such a situation, I would tell him, didn't we agree on this and that? So when a VIP used to come, I would tell him, go and meet your person. And when you meet your person, that would end would really reduce a lot of problems to me. Raila was quoted in that newspaper, as I said, saying that I'm the best of all the POs he has ever met. You could see me moving from being a main suspect to a celeb, the way now the journalists were treating me. And that is why I was prominently displayed in the Standard. If you check the Standard the following day after the election, that is the first of the 3 instances. Now let us go to the second of the 3 instances. The second chance was during the Changamwe by-election. Changamwe by-election, Kiliku, there was a court case which happened, and Kiliku, the election had to be reviewed. The returning officer was the late Brigadier Ruben Musonye. And he had identified, Changamwe then had 10 polling stations. He had identified 10 good presiding officers whom he had worked with, and he was very sure they would work for them. But just before just before that time, Sharif Nasir called a press conference and said that the Electoral Commission had brought in Wabara, people from uplands, upcountry, to come and rig the by-election. It forced Brigadier to downgrade three of us from PO to DPO. He downgraded the three of us, me included. I was among the three POs who were dropped to be made DPOs. I don't know about the other two, but I know that he chose me because he knew that my wife was also a DPO. So he felt that the two of us earning the salary of DPOs, we were better than other families which had only one PO. So I was demoted from PO to DPO. I want to say here now that Brigadier Musonye is a village, he is now late. He was a village mate with my in-laws, where my spouse comes from. Or should I say where my spouse came from? Yeah, so when I was demoted, there was no complaint. I was transferred from Chani Social Hall, where I was the presiding officer, and taken to Changamwe polling station. A young Mombasa, he was a Taita, yeah. A young Mombasa Polytechnic graduate was made the presiding officer. But the returning officer, Brigadier Musonye, made sure that we who had been demoted were classified as roving deputy presiding officer. We did not have streams, but we were just like DO1. DO1 is not in charge of a division, isn't it? And the RO talked to the three coastal POs and told them that they had qualified people and they were just ceremonial presiding officers. I was lucky that my presiding officer was very cooperative. The young man was very cooperative. He let me do everything as I wanted. But there was one problem. But I'll come to that. Changamwe polling station has a very long story and I will edit it. There were just before we left for polling stations, we were given files. Those files, of course, there were those files that they are typed names, and we were curiously we were ordered after Nani had complained, after Nasir had complained. We were curiously told that we should not, if anybody's name was missing in the file, then he should not vote. This was the one and only election that we were told that. In other elections, we used to be told, check in the black book. Check in the black book. If the name is not in the black book, but we were told, don't even check, don't even bother the black book, but file. You know what? The files were given names, were given pages. Yeah, they were given pages, but you'd find that pages with the words W, pages with the words main names. The pages with the main names, because they used to write JI-TENGE James Lando. They give the name and then the family name or the surname. So pages with surnames with A, O, and W were it would be obvious because you'd find W pages are 30, but you find there is W page 1, W page up to W page 30. But if you count them manually, you'll find that there are around 4 pages. The same applied with O and A. And you see W had Wambua, isn't it? Wambua. Ukamba names, a lot of them start with Wambua. And also, you'd find that O, Onyango, and Adhiambo, those are the names which were missing. So when people started voting, not ODM. ODM was not ready then. Forgive me. I have to talk a lot and it's very little time. Some people even complain that ninaongea maneno mengi. That time ODM was not there, but it was Ford Kenya. and Raila was the director of election in Ford Kenya. Ford Kenya had gone to uh, anniversary towers and they had come up with all files. So you find somebody coming, is called Wambua. You check in the file, his name is not there. So ODM produces a file with Wambua there, Onyango there. The presiding officer says, no, we have been told if the name is not in my file, I will not allow. And I said, no, let us check with the black book. He said, but we were told with, I said, don't say what the brigadier said. This is the thing. If you check in the, if you check in, and we used to have a form, I can't remember which one form it, there is something which you would write there that you have checked with the file, the name is not there, but the name is in the black book. That is what we call typing error. So when I did that decision, the ODM people were very happy. The ODM people were very happy, and there was Professor Pius Oumamuga. There was Professor Pius Oumamuga, and then we sat there. We did that, and when Raila came, Pius Oumamuga and the Ford Kenya team told him, huyu mrefu ya huyu mrefu, he has done that. There is another thing that also I didn't know, but they were telling Raila at that time when I was knowing from them. I can remember that there was a time that it reached a time when in an election, there is a lot of voting at around lunchtime. There's a lot of voting at around lunchtime. You know, those people who are working, they have come to vote and then go back to work, isn't it? But clerks and everybody and deputy presiding, they are now relaxed. Everything is going on well. There is no problem. The lines are going on well and whatever. From 6 to around 9, you have taught everybody how to fill in the forms, how to everything they have done. The first 2 hours was for on the job training. At around lunchtime, a lot of people are being voted because a lot of people are voting because the clerks know their work and they are doing it very fast and whatever. And so, as a roving deputy presiding officer, you have very little duty, except that around 4 is when you start now preparing the closing of the polling station, which will happen after 2 hours. Around 4, I started, you know, these urban areas have 18 or something streams. So at around 4, you close the last 2, you continue that way. And then if there are 18, at around closing time, you have around 8 running stations, so that you reach somewhere you una reduce hivyo pole pole. At around 1 lunchtime is when I talked to, that is around that time is when I talked to the presiding officer. First of all, before I talked to him around lunchtime, we argued for several times and whatever. But the young man, he agreed with everything I said and whatever. Whatever I said was law. There was only one thing we did not agree. It was this part when we were saying that if your name is missing from the file, you don't vote. That is when we argued it heatedly. And the Kanu candidates were saying, among you, who is the presiding officer? The young man said, he is. But he said, but you have the badge. Uh, then when the tension cooled, the presiding officer gave me the badge which showed that he is the presiding. So I was carrying I was having a presiding officer's badge with his name. I remember a lot of time. I can't remember his name, but supposing the name was Raphael Saya. Imagine people calling you Saya, Saya. You have forgotten that it is your name. And then you are the one I was talking to. You look at the badge and remember, oh. Then you say, what is the problem? Then I would solve. It reached a time around lunchtime when I talked to him. I had to return the badge back to him. I take another badge, the badge that now had my name. He had people were calling him Kwatenge, and me they were calling him. So the coastal fellow was being called Abukusu. From there, it reached lunchtime. I took my badge. I told him there were so many jerrycans with paraffin. So we were told. I told them that I want to take two jerrycans, that is 10 liters, and go and sell those two jerrycans and pocket the money. He said, but what? I said, no. What happens is when I come back with the jerrycans, when we are taking back, the jerrycans have got to be counted. Now we have around 6 or 7. 2 of them missing, it will not be. We'll say we use that paraffin. He said, okay, you seem to know the job very well. Then I went to Chaani. When I went to Chaani, it's a long story about Changamwe polling station, but my spouse was at Chaani, and just in a kiosk outside there, our temporary maid was holding our son. So I went there, walked. I was walking slowly, majestically, with that badge. Went and talked to the temporary maid, asked her anything while she was with our son. And when we talked for some time, I told her, on top of what we promised you as a salary, on top of what we promised you as a salary, and you stay around, we are giving you 10 liters of paraffin free. Go and use it. You go nowhere. You have 30 minutes to do that. Go to wherever you go, dispose of that, bring back the jerry cans. But I told her that I have to go and hold brief for my spouse. Then then I went to the polling station, polling stream that my spouse was. I became the deputy presiding officer of that stream. My spouse went and breastfed our son, and after bonding with the son, the temporary maid came and took hold of the son again. My spouse came back to the room that I was acting deputy, and then she took over, and then I took the two jerrycans, went back. When Raila was around is when he was told, this gentleman, hey, ukikwambia story yake, imagine amebeba hapa mafuta 10 liters, ameenda amepatia maid, huyu mtu is very sincere, haizi kutuibia kura hizo. Then Raila patted my said whatever. So that is the second time that I met with Raila, and that is the occasion when his people told him that I was a very sincere person, and and you see, this is a story, especially me, hmm? uh, especially me, a person who is trained in insurgency and counterinsurgency, surveillance and counter surveillance. Imagine, that is when I was knowing that Raila has trained his team in surveillance and counter surveillance, and they had performed. We used to have this training where you do the anti surveillance steps, you shake off people, but I didn't even think that. But it is good that they did that, because if I would have shaken them, they were following me to see. They wanted to know if I was rigging in Changamwe and Chaani. But when they went, they saw me going there. They heard me talking to the maid. They also followed me up to the polling station, and where I was working like as if nothing had happened. Where my spouse came back, she took over her polling station. And when I went back and whatever, they said, this man is ubaya wake tu ameiba mafuta. So that is how it is, and you can see how we interacted at that time, and his people. I'm saying that he saved me thrice, but at this time, that his people saved me, and he gave the DD of approval. He said, this fellow is so good. The third and last time was during Langata by-election in April. I think it's March or April 1997. The returning officer still was the late Brigadier Musonye. I was one of the DPOs at Joseph Kang'ethe polling station. And my spouse, I told you my spouse comes from, I don't like saying she comes from, hmm, because she defected several decades ago, but her original home is the same from as Brigadier Musonye, who was a deputy presiding officer at Mbagathi Road Primary School, my former school, and I was at Joseph Kang'ethe Social Hall. That is where I was. as we were continuing with the election, with whatever was happening, something really happened. And I can tell you, Jinsi, you people blame us at yours, sijui tunafanya mna gani. During Moi's time things, there are some things I can tell you that you would not believe. They look stranger than fiction. Because suddenly the police were arresting people within the Joseph Kang'ethe social hall and the stadium that was there. And even on the street, they would arrest them and turned one of the officers in the social hall as a holding cell. If I recall well, they were arresting the people allegedly for riots or whatever, things like that. But personally, as a former senior police officer, I knew that there was no rioting or anything, but it was intimidation. Sincerely, whatever happens within a polling station, the presiding officer is the final person. The final person. Do you know that even by law, you can overrule your returning officer in your polling station? Just like in a police station, you can overrule your OCPD. But then that is in the books. So, as a former cop, I tried to reason with them, with the police, but I was informed that they can only take instructions from the presiding officer. And imagine I was one of the deputy presiding officer. I was actually, Brigadier Msonye used to loved giving me the job of roving deputy presiding officer because he knew this is an underpaid presiding officer. I'm not complaining. In fact, I'm happy. Wapi umeona mtu anaandika a couple, both of them deputy presiding officers. But so the cops used to tell me, the cops told me that they can only take instructions from the presiding officer. I tried to reason with the presiding officer, but he was confused. He was confused. He could not refuse what I said, yet he could not face the police and tell them you are doing wrong. Then the press came. Then the press came. The PO took over. I mean, the PO took off. Nobody knew where he was. He took off into the thin air. Now we were faced by the press. About 6 deputy presiding officers. Of course, the press knew that the PO was nowhere to be seen. He later informed us that he was hiding in one of the buses that had been hired to transport us from Bomas of Kenya to the polling station and back. So he had hidden there, avoiding he was avoiding the press. You see, he would be asked, why is this and this is happening? Now, I want you to remember one thing. Here I am, I'm a roving deputy presiding officer, which is like the DO1. Now the DC, who is the presiding officer, has taken off. And you had told the DC or the presiding officer, this thing is wrong. And he had not taken action. You have talked to the police, this thing is wrong. They have not taken any action. Then Rao came. Raila Amolo Odinga just happened at that time. He listened to the concern of the press. He promised to talk to the police bosses. One of the reasons why he did so, he saw me again, and he had confidence that I'm one of the people who do. He's one of the people who do the work diligently. He then turned to me and told the press that I was one of the most sincere election officials in the country. That is why all stations that evening, all TV stations that evening, if you check, if you go to these media houses and check the media houses, you'll find that that day, the day we had a by-election in Langata in March, is it March or April 1994, Raila can be seen talking to that. But when it came to my time to talk, you'll find that all TV station muted my voice. You'll just see, they say the elections were being held in. You are seen talking as if it has been placed mute. It's because they had recorded me at a time when I was talking, and they had cornered me. can I say they had cornered me? Yes, they had cornered me to an extent that yes, nilikuwa najikaza kisabuni. I was talking to them the way I would talk, fighting a losing war, because I would say the polling station is within these ropes. Anything happening outside these ropes, we are not answerable, whatever. But they were asking me, when a deputy presiding officer, it is outside your place. But the thing is, an elector, when he leaves or she leaves her home, going to a polling station, he or she is not supposed to meet any scary incident. Now, this is somebody who is 5 meters to the polling station and is seeing police arresting people here. Don't you think it will affect that person and whatever? And I would say, you see, so I was talking that way, and they wanted to show me on TV, but they felt that if they were to show the voice, it would contradict whatever. So it was just there that Raila was seen on the TV station saying that he's contented with the arrangement that is being happening, and everything is there. He had no problem with Joseph Kang'ethe social hall. As you can see, the personnel here doing the work, whatever. And you see, once Agwambo has said, it is even forgotten that that the police are arresting people. Sifuava Kanili is somewhere there. So he went there, and the police came and took the people they had arrested to the police cells wherever they had taken them, and we continued with the voting. And that is when the presiding officer came out of the hiding, and he told us why he had been hiding. Of course, he thanked me for holding brief of what had happened. And that, viewers, is what Raila did in the 3 occasions. And for that, I'm grateful to him. May he be blessed. Amen and amen.